Phew. Making a mess. Hey, John. Hey, guys. How you doing? Well, I've got a piece of um, crabapple tree, and I'm gonna make a box out of it. And I'm just trying to get it somewhat round. I may leave the bark on it. I may not. It depends. Gonna smooth this out and see what it looks like. I wanted to get the bulk of the bark out because it was kind of offset, and wood branches are not cylindrical, they're not round. So the object of the game for me right now is just to get it to a shape where it's round enough. And because it had indentations in it, valleys, I may leave some of this on here, but I got to get it smoother because right now there's a lot of this grooving, baby. So I have to go take a little bit of that off, get it a little bit round, and then take it over to chop saw on the miter saw, cut these ends to where they're even on both ends, and then I'll figure out where I want to put the top cut for the lid. I have this idea for this box. It may not just be straight. It might be curved like a lot of my bowls are. Only thing bad about doing uh, wood with bark on it, I got to figure out a way to take it off. I don't have a draw knife. I thought I did. So the draw knife, I could take everything off, and it doesn't go as far. Back here, it went over my workbench. It usually goes about 10 feet this way and that way. Eventually, I'm going to make this a window and make it a, not glass, but I have a big plexiglass piece I'll put in there. So what I'm going to do now is try and straighten this out a little bit more. Oh, I stopped and get some coffee. Hope everybody up there in Canada is staying warm. It's I think it's -1 right here now. And a wind chill. That's what a wind chill. And I got about 2 inches of snow on the ground. No biggie. I might do a train thing this afternoon, so that Jeff's Train World. I'm trying to get people to subscribe to that. The problem is I have to do videos on it now. Facebook, I don't have to. But on YouTube, because you need 50 people, I only have 14 on there now. So it's up to you, but you can let your friends on your show when you do it, if you do it tonight. I'll be watching if you're doing it. And I can't do crocheting, man. I don't know how you guys do it. My trigger fingers. I only have one. There's no way I could do it. Okay. I'm going to try and straighten this up a little bit. Well, that's not bad. Not bad. Not bad. Now, I do some fine tuning with this. I had a friend of mine tell me that I'm doing this wrong. But it's funny, when I went to a couple of club meetings when I was in Hawaii, they were doing it the same way I was. A lot of the guys like to go like this with it. I like going like this. I put pressure on the top part, or let's just say if I'm going this way, I put pressure on this end. If I'm going that way, I put pressure on that end. Oh, by the way, so I want to explain it to everybody who's watching. This is a rough gouging tool. This is one of the smaller ones that I use. It's actually kind of dull. I got to sharpen it. I have two of these, so I usually use that when I got to do bark. Yeah, they call this a skew. It's a skew. I'm a skew. Well, I'm always a skew. Right, John? Never said I was straight. Okay, so I could do this like this. And basically, this was going to be the bottom. This was sticking out. The reason this part here is like this is because this kind of, it's still the outside part of it. It's part of the bark. Is because this piece of wood was shaped like this. It was off a crotch. It was off the crotch. Yeah, no, that was bad. That was bad. Okay, I'm just gonna, instead of putting it on there, I'll do this. That thing is over there. Well, I have to move this up anyway. And this will be the first thing I've turned since I got back from Hawaii. Now, one thing I'll tell people is always, when you pull it down, go all the way down, then shut it off. Let it go to the trigger, and then pull it up. If you pull it up as it's turning still, it'll zing and catch. That's a good way to get your hand cut off. Plus, if you're doing really fancy good woodworking, it's another way to chip wood too. Just like that, let it run. That's it. Yeah, I found out the hard way, dude. Now, hopefully, then what I always do is I unplug it. I put this down, put the tail on, put it back in its place. And there you go. So that way it keeps this straight. All right. Now the key is I have to figure out where the center is. And so you got a nail punch and my measuring tape out. So that's 4 1/4, right? Okay, so 4 1/4 would be 1 1/8, 2 1/8, right? Oh, for you Canadians, I don't know what it is. That's the one thing I haven't learned too much about when it comes. I know it, I just don't spend a lot of time with it. Reteaching myself. That old adage, what is that phrase? Saying you can't train a dog, old dog, new tricks or something. Well, that's kind of me. See, now this one's wider here. So that's another thing. When you're turning this, usually you want to measure. Now I've got a set of calipers. All right. So this is it's 4 3/8. Okay, so, and this is 4 1/4. So I need to get this in down to this size. It doesn't throw me off when I'm doing this. So you're right about there. So I always measure it. So I go this way, should be the same way. Okay, so how do you know, I got a question for you, all right? When you guys are doing your yarn stuff, how do you know, like say if you're going to make a sweater out of it, how do you know how much yarn you're going to need? Or is the kits or whatever you're doing at the pattern you're off tell you that? I wondered how much yarn you guys figure. I know you guys one night were talking about how expensive this stuff is. The John's Fabric store here where I'm at is closing. So I don't know where people are going to get their yarn from. They have a lot of stuff over there. And it's really busy, which surprises the whole company is shutting down, I guess. I don't know. It's just. No, actually, this is from my neighbor's yard. Last last fall we had some wind damage, we had some tornadoes come through here, and one of the trees in his yard blew down, and so I basically scavenged it. I do that. I'll drive around after a storm. I'll have my chainsaw in the back. I got a 32-inch Husqvarna chainsaw, and I'll go around and no, the stuff I brought back from Hawaii is this. I brought it back. I brought back about $150 worth of wood from Hawaii. That's koa wood, and so is this. So I'm always telling people, look for the grain. Now see, this has got some imperfections in it, right? Here. But see, when I'm looking for wood, and I'm looking for the grain, but I'm also looking what am I going to use it for? Because unless you are specific on turning, not a lot of people have rounds for you for turners. You have to basically buy a bigger chunk and cut the ends off and whatnot. So I looked at it and go, this would make a good box. Or it could be a glass. You can make, or a chalice. You can make a chalice out of it. Or a candle holder. But you got to think about that. I've got these specifics when I go out and look for stuff. That's what it is. This one here, I can make a bowl out of. And when I'm looking at it, I go, okay, well, which way are you going to do this? Can't do it this way, right? Don't want to turn this way. You want to turn it this way. So now my bowl, because I take the corners off, that part's not going to bother me so much. And then this will be the bottom side. And so the shaping of it will be like this. I'll make it like a cereal bowl. Then I might put some rings on it or something. Okay, so now we know this thing here is actually wider. Well, I forgot to. So, let's see what I say. That's even. Okay, so this is the wider end, right? I'm gonna make sure I put it on. So I know this is going to be the bottom, or do you know? See, that's the other thing. When you look at this, see, I've got a little bit of an oddball here. Which one do you make the bottom or the top? This one or this one? Or does it matter? So you look at it. You look at it all the way around. All right. So here's the thing about crabapple trees. It's red. I love the red. And you get such good grain out of it. It's amazing. And that's the same thing with some of the coalwood. Now, the only problem with coalwood is a lot of it you get is punky. So it depends on where you go to get it and who's sawing it up and where it came from, which part of the island. Typically, the coalwood tree doesn't grow below, I think, 2,000 feet. And it's up on 3, 4, 5,000 feet up on the Hawaiian Islands. I don't think there's coalwood anywhere else. If it's a rainforest up there, and there's a lot of trees, but monkey pod is all over the place. Ohea, which is they call it their actual first tree to be on the island. Ohea is kind of like a Osage. It doesn't get really big trunks like the coalwood tree or a banyan tree. You know what a banyan tree looks like? It's the one that looks like it's got roots going on. And instead of a trunk, it looks like it's all roots. Those are really nice. Downtown Kona on the strip, the main strip is like they're all over the place. They're awesome looking. And no, I haven't turned a banyan tree. I think it's their native. It's you've seen them on TV a lot too. But there's some trees that have a canopy that look like an umbrella. That's really kind of cool. The banyan tree is kind of like that too. So, yeah, tree species. My background is in forestry, so it helps me out a little bit. But what I like to do is when I go someplace, I like to learn trees, and I like to see an experiment. If I get a way to bring stuff home, I'll do it. I did that in Germany. My wife's nephews had her husband was cutting a tree down or trimming a tree one day with a chainsaw. And when I was there a couple of years ago for a family reunion, I happened to be able to snag a piece, and I brought it back, and it turned out to be really such a bizarre piece of wood. It was green. It was actually like a dark green, And the other one was like a blood. It looked like a piece of meat. That one I keep because I want to show people on display what it looks like. It's pretty cool. Now you can see I posted a couple of things. The last one I did, I actually shouldn't say this is the first thing I turned. I started a bowl months ago, and I've been traveling since. I haven't finished it. So I get back, and I'm staring at it, right? And I'm going, and I just put a little indentation at the top. I was just going to make, it was a big piece of wood, just a little indentation on it. And it was almost like it was a curio board, just a small one, right? I looked at it, and the wife goes, no, she didn't like that. That's dumb. Of course, I said, okay. She wanted me to go down deeper with it. So I went down another 2 inches. And well, you know, and see, the thing is, because it was shaped like this at the bottom, I had to be really careful when I was gouging it. The bowl's about this big around, but it's oddball shaped. It's off of like a knot, or the base of a like a root system. It turned out really nice, but I was paranoid. I didn't want to, it was, yeah. I was too afraid that I was going to butcher it. So now what I'm going to do is try and get this down to a certain size. So it looks to me like from about here to here, but I'm going to pick my calipers. Now, for anybody that turns wood, has they ever turned a leg or a baseball bat? I should put this ring. It's tapered. The last thing I built was my, take this off. Was actually a table. And when I was making the legs off of it, and I don't know if you guys have seen it, I posted it. I have a pattern for it. And oh, come on. Oh, batteries must be out. Anyway, I got that about right. Right about there. So I got to take about, I don't have to take very much off. From here to here, I probably have to take about a 1/16 off, a little bit more. But I made this table completely 100% out of red oak flooring that I got from a friend of mine. Now I have oak flooring from all over. I've got from a house that somebody tore apart, and an 1800s house, and I got it from a friend of mine's house, and that's where I have scavenaged of wood. People look at me, God, I got wood coming out, boxes of wood back in there. I got bins of wood here. Yeah, so I built this out of a pallet. Yeah, I don't care what it looks like. It's supposed to be, and I could use my oh, hey, Wade. Well, I've been traveling, Wade. I spent the whole month of January in Hawaii, so there you go. I did do some woodworking. My friend Kelly Dunn, who's a national treasure turner, really good turner. I went up to his place again. He lives in a town called Hawi, and it's not spelled the same way I said Hawi. It's WAVI. I'm serious. WAVWIE. I mean, anyway, It's in the northern part of the state, and I went to his club meetings. So I went to two club meetings. Now I'm part of another two clubs, and two clubs in Hawaii and two clubs here. So and that's the thing. When I was watching people's stuff, like John, I was trying to do your stuff. It was like 8 o'clock in the morning. There's a 4 hour difference in time. So noon here, it's 8 o'clock there. Yeah, so I was way behind in everybody's stuff. Um, People were doing programs, and I was at the beach or somewhere on the island doing something. That's pretty good. Okay, so now I got that the way I want it, right? Now here's the other thing. You're gonna have to figure out where you want your cut, top or bottom. How you want this? You want it this size, or you want to make it smaller? So what I'm gonna do now that I got that, I don't need this right now. My batteries are dead in this thing. Gotta figure out how to take them off. We gotta figure out what kind of design I want to put in there. Now I'll let people know ahead of time. Okay, so it's been a while since I turned, so forgive me if I have to do this to keep the dust down. I got too much stuff going on. So forgive me if I forget something. Okay, so I want to figure out where I want to put my, how big a top I want. So at this stage, I'm probably going to be like right about here. Right about there. Okay, so there's a couple of ways to do it. I could take this now and cut it. But here's the thing. You you can't round this out yet. The top or the bottom. If you're going to do a round top or smooth this, because how are you going to get it in your chuck? What the heck, Chuck? You know? Excuse me. So there's a couple of ways of doing this. You leave this like this, flat on both ends. You take this piece and you cut it. Now this one should be pretty easy to find, how to line it up. But I usually go and because I've got this stuff, that helps me. And I tried this. Now I could have taken more of this down, but I'm a freak when it comes to having bark on it. I love to show parts of the wood. I'm a tree guy. I wrote up something on a little bit of an editorial on my site about trees. Okay, and I always everybody's talking global warming. Well, that's bunk. Okay, my old science teachers from junior high into high school and into college are way different than the ones today. Global warming is full of crap. Okay, I'll take it back. It's true, but it's not us doing it. It's Mother Nature doing it. we've gone through. We've gone through two ice ages. All right, I think maybe two. Yeah. So the Earth changes itself, but it takes millennia for to do it. There's actually less trees on our continent a couple hundred years ago than there is now. But the science is with a tree, for each tree, it takes in nutrients. Now, some guy goes, uh, I got this argument about what's a pure, something about nutrients. It was, anyway, you get enough trees planted, you start a rainforest. Now, in Hawaii, it's got every climate zone in the United States in that island, on that one island, the Big Island. I'm not kidding you. I got pictures to prove it. Where I stay is on the drier side and the west side in Kona. I'm South Kona, and it's kind of like the desert. All right, but I've been going there since 1993, and I've seen it go from lava rock to grass. And there's goats, there's wild goats everywhere. They got wild chickens, wild turkeys, goats, boars, cats too. By the way, they got feral cats everywhere. They got a problem with that. Mongooses. They have their own pheasant, and quail. They actually have quail out there. There's like 5 or 6 different. Oh, they do have wild horses or wild donkeys. Donkeys are the size of a regular horse. It's huge. I've seen them. But here's the thing. It's a rainforest. Okay, so what happens is the mountain has clouds on the top of it. They move around all the time. Most of the time, the eastern side, because the winds are blowing from west to east. All the currents are going from the Pacific into inland. They're blowing all the winds and the clouds to the other side, which Hilo is the most wettest side. They get like 200 or 300 inches a year over there. I guess in the long run, about what I'm saying, the more trees you plant, the more water it'll bring, because the leaves in it, I can't remember what it's called. It brings in moisture, humidity, like down south, down in southern Alabama, and in Louisiana and Kentucky and Tennessee. It's always humid down there, right? That's because there's more trees down there, and it's more humidity. More humidity air brings in more moisture, right? So there you go. It's science. And forget, I'm Jeff the science guy. And Mythbusters too. Okay, so now, I don't know why I took that and unplugged it. Well, I have to do this again. I have to do this again. Sorry, kids. I think I'm brain dead today. Yeah, so next Monday, a week from tomorrow, I have surgery on my hip, my right hip, and I've had to go through all this stuff. So Friday, I had to go into an MRI machine. Anybody go into an MRI machine? The first one, I couldn't do it because it was in a tunnel. It was about that big. I get my fat butt in there. I mean, I got like part of the way in. I'm not gonna fit, and I'm like freaking out. I'm claustrophobic. So anyway, I went. That was Thursday. Friday, I went to another one, better. But if anybody ever has to do that, forewarning: take some Dramamine. Way better, man. You'll be nice and happy and being stupid like I am, and talking like you're drunk. It worked. No, I don't think I'm going to need this again. Huh. Okay, so I cut these two, right? Now, some people could do this. You can leave them flat, all right? And the reason I say that is because some people will drill a hole in here and drill a hole here and put a magnet in, and put a pin here and put a magnet in so it opens like this. You know, you could do that. What I was going to do one time, my wife makes the glass stuff. She's the glass lady. I was going to take and do on the scroll saw an open spot, and she could put her little. She gets these wind chime things. She does a really good job on. Just make it so you had a little bit of a lip and put it on there. So, but that's not a problem. Okay, so we got this. That's the top, right? So now here's the other thing. I tend to do the top first, just to get it rounded. Now you got to think, where's the lip going to be? Is the lip going to be on here? Or is the lip going to be on here? So, and then you could take this on the drill press. Take this out. You can put it. You have your own drill press on here. And what I tend to do is drill it down. If you go on the drill press over there, you got to take a clamp and you got to clamp and have a jig and all that. With this, when I put the chuck in here, like a drill press chuck, don't have to worry about it. That was the best thing I ever did when I bought that last year. Oh, man. And part of the problem is when you're doing this, I always say you can have enough tools, literally. You can't do certain things. Well, you can do it a half-assed way, and it's a lot more difficult. I love that drill press, but you can't hold it and drill at the same time. And you got to be careful. It doesn't, you could stick yourself with a drill. I don't know if John's on here anymore, but John, did you ever stick yourself with that crocheting needle? Ha! My wife used to do that. She used to do that she used to do a lot of, not crocheting too, it was weaving. And then she got into the refused glass stuff, and nope, ever since then it doesn't happen. She didn't do infused glass. There we go. Okay, so this one I have to have this out a little bit. Now I could use the drill press on it, but I think what I'm just going to do is put a groove in it. Yeah, should I go? My drilling cape, I don't know. Okay, see, that's my point. See, I marked right here where the outside part was, so I had to make sure my hole was done. I suck at that. Okay. So, what do people like doing? If you're a woodworker, if you're not a woodworker, what do you like making? What's you guys' favorite projects? Okay, so now what I'm going to do, this is the other thing, just to see whether I'm square or not. Uh, See now, the reason I'm doing this, you see the difference size right here between that and here? See how wider it is here compared to here? It's not much, but that's the reason why I do it. And it does, if you look at it, I have a mark on the wall, kind of visual thing that I do. And when I turn it on and I look at it, if I see it going up and down a little bit, now it'll throw you off. This thing will throw you off. But it's okay because as long as this is straight, you'll be okay. You got to remember that when you want a box that the thing fits in, because if you do this, when you take this on the drill press or you put it on drill here, and this isn't perfectly round inside, that won't fit. Same thing with that. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to use my CI4, I think. Yeah, my CI4 on this. Now this one's a little bit wider here because I haven't done the bottom yet. But what I usually do is get this out a little bit. I love using this CI4 because it grooves. It's a little bit dull. I think I have to change it. I usually see this is why I like gouge carbide tips, because you can take this head and flip it around so that that head is over there, and I don't have to worry about sharpening it. Same thing with this. Same idea. You could use this kind of like my thickness planer. I could take the blades and flip them around. Those things are expensive, and so are these. So that's why I like carbide tip. People go, it's not traditional. Well, screw the traditional. It makes my life easier, you know. Hey, nice to see you. Well, you guys, just so you guys know, and I'm happy, and thank you again for watching me. I appreciate that. And if you haven't subscribe to me. I really appreciate it because every time I do something, it'll come up. Oh, and go check out my Train World, Jeff's Train World, HOO and Engage. That's Jeff's Train World, HOO and Engage. That's my other channel. That's my other hobby. It's over here at the end. I'll take and show you later. But okay, so my big thing when I'm doing stuff. Okay, I learned I started doing this. I got this whole thing for free, believe it or not. The old Craftsman tool company, I used to work for them. I did demos. Every time I did a demo, I got free tools. So I got a whole bunch of hand tools for my Mustang. I mean, I have a like $1,000 set of tools for automotive stuff, wrenches and sockets and ratchets and stuff out in the garage. And then the last year we did it, which was 2015, I believe, or 16, it was in Bronx. It was in Bronx. Bronx, New York, man. Yeah, it was rough. It was rough. Anyway, never turned a lathe in my life, right? So I got one of they said, well, Jeff, you're going to be doing this, and the other guys are going to be doing that. It was like 20 of us doing the demos. Well, there was 10 of us doing the demos, instructing. The other ones were people that were with us. Vacation, they call it the Craftsman vacation. A lot of guys that keep in touch, like Eric Jacoby, Rob North. Rob North's an actor slash. He's been in a bunch of stuff. Been in Chicago Med and other stuff. He has his own deal where he's on TV and stuff. He has his own show. I don't forget what it is. Carl Champley from LA is actually an Australian, but he does a lot of $1 million designs. Really cool guy. But anyway, we were doing demos. I never done the lathe before. The first thing we were doing was a simple one. And this is what I tell people. I love teaching people. If you're going to learn the lathe, the simplest things are the best things. Learn your tools first. Now, this isn't the standard tool. There's a kit you can buy that has eight or 10 of these. They're all steel like this. Learn the steel ones. Learn the difference between what kind of gouges you have, and a bowl gouge, a spindle gouge. I'm trying to think of all the terminology. I just use them. But the funny part about it is, now that I've gotten better, I don't use but half of them. I think I got I use maybe 4 gouges out of 8, so half of it. But see, the problem is I switched over to the same type of gouges, except carbide tips with longer handles. It makes a difference. Now, I'll say this to the old timers. They like to use, this is what you call a bowl gouge. A gouge. It'll bite you if you don't know how to use it. Where is that thing? Here it is. This is what they have as a bowl gouge, all right? You see how it's tapered and then on the ends, right? Okay, if you look at it close, this one's not bad. This one's probably pretty even on these ends. Some have a shorter side on one side than the other side, back and forth. The way you use it is basically you use the sharp ends. It's tricky. You have to get used to it. But what I don't like about it is, it is tricky. It takes you a little bit of getting used to it. Now, this one's pretty sharp. I had a friend of mine do the sharpening on it, so I haven't used it since. But it's no different than the other gouges I use, except this thing I never mastered it enough to where I'm not leaving rings on the outside of it, big gouges. Then you spend more time sanding. Yeah, and that's just me. I personally am not perfected in it well enough. I know how to use it, and I do it to a point, but I haven't gotten the mastering of it. The other ones I use, I don't really get into I like to do my own kind of stuff. I just got lazy. I mean, this bowl gouge right here is the one I use most of the time. It's dirty, so I apologize for it. I haven't been around to clean them, but that's same thing. These tip is bad, so I have to go and replace it. But I like it because you can take it off. Now, there's that one. Okay, then there's this one. This one's for curves to get into tight spaces. There's other ones. There's a ton of them out there with different. There's ones with longer ones. Eastwood Tools make this. They're a great set of tools. Let's see, this one's another one too. There's a little bit of a softer curve. Well, here's the other thing. Each time you pick up a tool, there's a different technique you use on using it. This one here, well, it's like that other curved one. You can see right here, working in. The tool from here, it's usually about 2 inches or so. From here to here is the best spot. When you're working it, you want to be able to, you don't want to go past this because then you're rocking it. So from here to here, where is it? Here. That's the length. Now you got, this goes in time when you learn it. The further in you go, the less control you have. So you got to figure out, you got to have something like this, a little bit too wide. This one is wide too. Usually when I'm doing deep bowls, I have something that's smaller that rides inside so that you could go like this. You basically are working it. And then when you're doing that, this is off and you're on the chuck. So you got room to play with. You know, I used to do a lot of that with this and this here before I got the chuck. I did a lot of it the hard way. You know, but, and I had a lot of help from my buddies, Gerald Vance, Paul, Rich, all these guys that are in my club have helped me in the past. Gerald Vance, Appalachian Heritage Woodshop, that guy's great. He's into everything. I've been to his shop. I visited him last year at his shop in West Virginia. He's a master carpenter. I mean, I'm literally telling you, he's a master carpenter. He teaches stuff. I learn a lot from him. We go back and forth a lot on texting and on the phone. If there's something wrong when I'm doing this, he'll be the first one to jump on and say something about it. That's what I need from you guys that are out there, that might be a step up from me. I always think I'm just average on this. All right. My whole thing is I like putting on a show. All right. I just like showing people. My goal is to get you guys started in it. All right. So, having said that, I'm going to do a little bit of gouging here. Now I can tell my tools are dull. It's just putting out sawdust. And some tools that I know will do a little bit better. That's a little bit harder pushing, so I need to change the head on this. This one's different. Now you see that? Now there's one thing I'm doing wrong here. Okay, so I was leaning a little bit more like this. You don't want to do that. This one, well, most of them you want to do like this one, you want to stay as flat as you can. Going back and usually the chuck is on here. And I should pull this off and put the chuck on there. It makes a lot of, that way I can get the center piece off. When you're using something like this, because it's got a pitch, you kind of have to lean up on it. You want to get this. If you go like this, you're not doing it right. If you go a little bit down at an angle, yeah, I don't know what the angle is. The way I feel. It's the way I feel. It's the way I feel, yeah, man. I'm the guy that wants to be like Tim Allen, okay? So, there you go. Let's see. Hey, you're welcome, buddy. Hey, listen, anytime. I'm also looking for people to get on StreamYard with me and do have a panel, two or three other people. And my goal is I like crafting. There's a guy that was on here earlier that was on whips and chains and crocheting and stuff. John P. He does some magnificent work on scroll saw. I met this guy. I never met him in person, but I came across him one time looking at other YouTube channels, and now he's doing crocheting. I can't do crocheting. I mean, I could probably try and do it, but I don't. I mean, I can appreciate it. I have this phrase: "It's boots on the ground." Boots, and the reason I say boots on the ground, they kind of a phrase that I used from one of the jobs I used to have in the past. I was a firefighter with the Forest Service for a number of years. And there's all these phrases that I can go through with and use, and I use it on a daily basis. But I'll never criticize people for anything that I have ever never done. Never. Because I can't. It doesn't make sense. I don't have unless you have an issue, unless you have a solution to the problem, shut up. I learned this from a friend of mine a long time ago. This story goes. I met this friend of mine, Dan. Dan was running for an office one time. He was a politician part-time, and so I jumped on the bandwagon with him. No, it wasn't. Be honest with you, it wasn't a Democrat or Republican. It was a Green Party / independent, okay? But I was, I remember like everybody else, I was complaining. Why don't they do that? You can't do this. You can't do that. That's not right. I didn't have the facts one day when I was talking to a bigwig, and it's kind of like put a sock in it, Jeff. And I learned that. So all the people that are out there complaining about Trump or Biden or anybody else, put a sock in it unless you know what the hell what you're talking about, unless you've got facts. What we see on the TV is done on the TV for a reason. It's called smoke and mirrors. It's called drama. How come is it 80% of the shows on TV are drama? They say, if you believe half the stuff that they say on TV, then you're being sucked in. You're no different than the guys that are watching a soap opera on TV. It's Hollywood. So anyway, boots on the ground refers to being in other person's shoes. And I can't criticize for anybody because I've never done it. So, and even now, even though I've done a lot of turning, I'm still not a proficient in it. I don't think I ever will. I'm always learning stuff. There's no new products on here. And I swear by it. I have a blast doing it. And that's why I tell people, if you want to learn this stuff, it's not that hard. If I can do it, you can do it. Hey, listen, when I was in high school, I thought I was going to be a hotshot race car driver. So, hey, I tried my stint at that. And no, if you like to go broke, you'll know. It's a sure way to lose money, man. I'm telling you. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to get this off. So just so you know, I won't be on here too much longer because it's time to watch a high-speed Daytona 500 Crash Fest. It's called the World's Fastest Demolition Derby. I watched some of the ARCA race and this Xfinity race yesterday. And the ARCA race was kind of hilarious because they couldn't go past 2 or 3 laps without crashing. And I think at the end of the race, there was probably maybe 10 cars left. It was pretty funny. Okay, so now what I'm doing is putting a chuck in. What the chuck? Okay, so and I got to figure out. Hopefully this I got the bigger teeth on here. Where is it? This chuck is a lifesaver, guys. I'm telling you. See, get the right tools for the right job. So now, normally what I do is I'll run this up like this to see if it's okay. So what I'm going to do here, I opened it up a little bit more, so I like to get it to where it's dead center a little bit first. Here's the thing, sometimes it isn't. It depends on how you cut the wood. It's always going to be off a little bit. Wood's not perfect. Well, neither am I. Okay, so we're good. So now, to really be cute. Now this is a Barracuda too, Chuck. That's more of it. If I'm looking at this lid and it's not moving up and down or side to side, it's good to go. It's critical. You know how many times I've made a box and the lid's off? You know, and it takes forever to straighten the dang thing out. You can, but it just makes it harder. Oh yeah, just so you know. These here, this is another thing. People ask me, well, how do you finish the bottom? What I usually do when I do a big bowl is if I'm doing a salad bowl, it's, 11 inches brown. When you flip it over to take your tenon, or, that piece that's sticking out, you want to get rid of it, make sure it's completely flat on the bottom, use this. You put them on here, it expands it, and the little bumpers on the end, what you do is you basically put those wherever you think, and it acts the same way this does, it's just bigger. And you can turn your bowl around, with the inside like this, up against that, holds it tight, you tighten it down, and you could take and gouge off, like what I'm doing here, the inside, or the bottom side. Pretty cool, huh? For you guys that don't do that kind of stuff, it's pretty cool. Trust me, I did it the hard way for a long time. Okay, so that's pretty much out of the way. So now you could put, you're gonna put this aside. And I can use this one now. I don't need the big one. And you always want to try and perfect yourself. Now, I'm just below top dead center, as I call it. It's some of my car lingo. Okay, so I'll put this up. Now, there's a couple of things it'll do to you. When you go to turning, I might have to go down a little. No, it'll be fine. Maybe a little bit. Work this way. If you work that way, you don't work this section. You work from here this way. You try to pull it. Because what happens is, you go this way, sometimes you go over to it, and it'll go like that. And you got to keep reminding yourself two things. Keep an eye on this. All right. Constantly make sure this thing is tight. And because it's coming this way, right? That's a safety factor for you. And make sure that you got your, like the way I hold it. Because if it's a chip, you're going like this. You always want, that's why I wear the face mask. If you've ever seen what somebody looks like broken nose, I've already broke my nose enough times. So, See what happened? Man, my tools are dull. Okay, so you got an idea. See how it spits back at you? They don't like me. Okay, so the name of the game now is you get this rounded off a little bit. And I probably could take a drill bit and put it in here. What was I going to say now? I can't remember. This comes off, by the way. It's getting it off is a hard thing. This got a little. A lot of the other guys have. There's different things. This older model. The pin that's in here, the little pin. There's usually more of a point. You can change that out anytime you want. Hey Jenny, how you doing? Grandpa. All right, you youngster, web snapper. Oh, hey, you. Nice to see you. You know what? I might be a grandpa. I'm not that old, but I'm a groovy grandpa. Peace. You know, you don't, youngsters don't know the fun of it. You miss the good times. Growing up in the 60s was like far out, dude. You missed the good stuff, all the good music. Jimi Hendrix, Cream, Boston, Eagles. Now what do you got? Like some guy named Hook, Sinker, Cheek, Anchor, or Hoopla, or Cargis, or whatever. See how that comes out? That's the point. It should be out further, but it's not a big deal. Not a biggie. So, what you normally have to do with this is take this inside out, because it comes. I showed you this, but excuse me, if you're ever doing a pin, there's a rod that goes in here. And pins are pretty easy to do. They're easier than everybody says they are. Trust me. There's a rod that goes in the shaft of this. You have this off, and it goes through to this. And it's got like a wedge in there that adjusts back and forth, and it'll adjust whatever size pin you want on it. The only big thing is you want to make sure you get the right drill bit that fits that brass ring that you'll be putting inside your hole. So, hey, the other thing is, Jenny, I might be a grandpa, but I know more than you. Been around the world more than you. You're still in diapers. No, I'm just kidding. No offense. I'm just kidding. You guys, you kids nowadays have got it spoiled. Trust me. I remember when there wasn't any cell phones. I had a pager at work. That was it. They had satellite phones. No, here's the thing. Okay, all you young kids whine about how much it costs you in college. Let's put it to you this way. Those little calculators that cost you like 10, 12 bucks. One of those cost $250 when I went to college. I had to share it with other people. $250. Those of us that have been around a while can attest to that. There was books. My books alone were like probably $1,000. I don't remember. A lot of good my college education did too, by the way. Not even doing it. Y'all will get a rude awakening sometime and find out what happens. The way things work nowadays is everybody's going in to be a doctor, a lawyer, a teacher, and an IT specialist. Well, the IT, forget it, because my neighbor's been in IT business for all his life, and he gets laid off 50 times a year. So there you go. Oh, yeah. Yo. Yeah, so anyway, I love woodworking, all right? I love showing you guys this stuff. If you're ever interested in doing something, you want a little bit of, I do more than just turning too. I built that table over there. I have a design kit I use. I've built outhouses, vanities. I used to build houses, so. See, the only thing I could tell you is that life's too short, people. You got to take time out for yourself. I don't care how much you need money. I don't care how much whatever. And your kids, you need to take a break. You know, go hug a tree. You know, go watch the birds, the bees, and whatever play. I'm gonna take a break because I gotta find a part for this. Okay, here's what I'm gonna do. It's race time. Don't know what time it is, but it's race time. I gotta go watch the world's fastest demolition derby. And Jimmy Johnson's driving it this again. The guys just won't let it go, you know. My guy used to be Rusty Wallace, so there you go. Before him, it was Richard Petty. I met that guy. I got to tell you a story about him. Okay, so now, when I was with Rusty Wallace fan club at Charlotte Motor Speedway, we used to go, even at Daytona, there's an elevator, you go up to the skyboxes, right? So we go up there, and every time I went up to where the skyboxes are to our suite, there's Richard Petty. We were talking, and I talked to him for quite a while. Now, the wife worked for Sears. So one time, Richard Petty was sponsoring something when Chicagoland Speedway used to be open, and it was a big deal, right? I mean, back in the day, there was Western Auto, which was owned by Sears. They sponsored it. Then they sponsored the truck races all year like they are now. And all these guys would show up. I mean, I've got autographs from a lot of people, right? So Richard Petty's got to be the coolest dude, man. He was just so awesome. And he's kind of like me. He's older than I am, but I mean, he's still kind of like the peace, groovy dude. He's got a lot of stuff going on. His son Kyle is more outspoken than I am. He's cool too, you know. But the thing is, we would go up and then every time I saw him, we'd talk. It's you again, you know. He's just so funny. The guy was laid back. He still is. Still is the coolest guy. If you ever see him again, get his autograph, man. It's worth it, you know. Anyway, I'm gonna let you guys go for right now. I want to appreciate it for you guys watching me for over an hour. I think it was an hour and 20 minutes. You get 23 on there, and I know I had more, but to Jenny and Unpin Smoke, and to John, and to Wade, and all these other people in there, I forget. Thank you for watching me. Questions or comments, leave them. Give me a crap. I'm on YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook. So give me a shout out, and if there's things you want me to do, maybe stick a drill in my no. Let me know. I appreciate it again. Okay, my phrase is, this is a lot. When I used to be in networking groups, they always had to have a phrase for your business. One is, if you're not being creative, no matter what it is, if you don't have an open mind, if you're not being creative, you're not going anywhere. Get out in the program, in the world, and do something. God bless. Happy day, happy Sunday, and I'll be talking at you. Thanks again for watching. To Mary Pat and Greg, my special people up north, God bless you guys. Missing you.